name's Nicola and welcome back to my channel. This is the Frugal Cottage, where we talk all things money to help you on your financial journey. Today's video is all about a look inside my dividend income portfolio to show you the kind of journey I've been on so far and hopefully inspire you to maybe think about starting your own investment journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started. So I've posted before on this channel about my dividend investments, how to start investing and what are dividends in the first place. I'll leave a link below to those 3 videos. Today's video is to show you my own portfolio and just how the journey has been so far. I must add in here that this is not a personal recommendation for you to buy these. This is just what I'm doing, and this is just me sharing my own portfolio, and it does change over time, and I'll show you the different changes as we go along, but this is what my own dividend income portfolio looks like. So I've had so many requests about how to track dividend income. How do I do it? How do I know when things are going to be paid out? And how do I know that I'm going to be eventually able to get that £1,000 a month dividend income every month, rather than it happening once a month and not the next? So I thought I would share with you my probably quite basic dividend income tracker. So I've had this, as you can see, I started receiving and tracking dividend income in 2016, which seems like a long time ago. And this is the overview page. So this shows me just at a glance how it's looking, how it's building. I've got some visual representation in terms of graphs. And then I've got the individual tabs at the top, which I will go into in a second. So you can see here, I like to have an overview of my dividend income, just so you can see over time quickly how that looks. And actually you can see that some months here, there's lots of growth, but then this year it's very much changed to be quite a lot less. And that's because of the current circumstances, but I'll talk about that in a while. So the different colours represent the different colours on the graph. So the blue ones here are 2016. So this is when I first started. So my first dividend income month was February 2016, and I received £11 for that. And let me tell you, that was the most exciting £11 I think I've ever got from anywhere. And you can see there in the graph, it's quite small, but it's there. But you can see in 2016 there are months where I didn't get anything. And that's okay. This was just a starting point. This is me trying to figure out what was going on in terms of dividend investing, looking at how to look at different stocks and making sure that I'm hitting the months, all that kind of thing. And researching stocks and what to buy does take a long time. It does take me a while to decide on which ones to buy, and I might show you the process I go through in another video. If that's something that would interest you, let me know down below in the comments below, and I can do that as a different video, just how I go about picking my dividend income stocks and funds. I've got a mixture of both here. So you can see there that this is the overview. So 2016 ended up being £168.57 in my first year of dividend investing. Dividend income, which it was amazing. I wasn't expecting that at all, but it did seem to, once I kind of got going with this, did seem to kind of go quite quickly. Like you can see that from May onwards I had an income every month, and yes, they're small, but it's starting to build. And then you can see 2017 here again. So January 2016 was 0, and then 2017 was £46.94. So it's building, and I'm looking at building the monthly income source as that. And the £1,000 a month dividend income stream, and I'll leave a link below to the video that explains more about that. But that essentially is the income that we will use to pay our fixed expenses as a household. Obviously, if you're an individual person, or you've got a family of 20, or there's just 2 of you, you know, your circumstances will be different. The amount that you might want to aim for will also be different, but this is what we're aiming for. And then I also like to do the quarterly, and again, it's just a different type of tracking. The colours are the same, and it's just quarter 1, 2, 3 and 4. Lots of financial things work in quarters of the year, and you can see here, so red is this current year, and you can see that there is, obviously quarter 3 hasn't finished yet, that's why that looks so small, but in quarter 2 there it was less than last year, and that's just because of these dividend cuts, which I'm hoping are like temporary and that they'll come back next year, or maybe the year after. I did speak in my dividend income video at the weekend that if in a couple of years' time it doesn't seem like things are getting back to normal and these companies are paying out dividends again, then I will rethink my strategy, buy and hold, and perhaps change it so that I am more invested in the funds rather than individual companies. But we will see. I am going to be investing in dividend income stocks for the next 15 years or so. So it's a bit of a long-term game in that respect. So I'll show you now how I track them over the year so that you can see how I work out which months are going to be what. So this is 2016. So you can see here, this is how I set this up originally. And this is the same all the way through. So I've got the list of I've put share here, but that should just be holding because actually some of these are funds. And then the months across the top. And then I leave the months white that the individual or fund is going to pay out in. So most of mine you can see are paid out twice a year. You'll see in a second, I'll show the 2021. I've kind of shuffled and changed quite a lot since then. But you can see, so in February, that first income payment, that first income month there, I got paid from these three companies. January there wasn't any. March and April there isn't any. And I did this so that I can see A, as an overview of the year, but B, I can see which months are going to be bigger pay months because there's more companies paying out, and also which ones I need to maybe reflect on in terms of getting the dividend payment. So here in 2016 I didn't get any in March or April, and actually even now March and April are fairly low pay months for me in terms of what I have in my portfolio. But it gives you things to look at, and it gives you opportunities to say, well, actually this month has quite a few. So August, for example, in this one had quite a lot of payments in terms of the amount of different companies that paid out. But that's what that looks like for 2016. And then 2017 is suddenly quite a lot bigger. I had a lot more in terms of the number of holdings and the amount they were paying out, because it's just I am consistent in saving money into investments and reinvesting the dividends, and this is how this works. Obviously, it goes out saying that in this video, this is what I have in my portfolio. This is not a recommendation of what you should buy. I am not a financial advisor. I cannot tell you what to invest in, but this is just showing you my portfolio and my journey. So you can see if I kind of switch back between the two, that the amount of kind of information on this spreadsheet is much bigger because there's much more going on. And you can see, so January this time suddenly has quite a few payments, hasn't it? So it's this one here. So January going from zero the year before to £46.94 is a big jump. And you can see there that perhaps when I'm looking at dividend income and looking at different investments, I have quite a few that pay out in January. So maybe I don't need to invest any more in different ones in January, but I might add to the ones that I already hold going forward rather than adding much more to the mix. I will talk about dividends versus the share price and what has happened recently, but I'll do that towards the end, so stick around for that. But you can see there, so in 2017 I got £655 and 5 pence. I also, if you noticed, I've got the names here and I've got a month. I've also got a total for what that individual investment pays out every year, because then you can see which ones are the ones that are the higher hitters. So for example, in this total, the clear winner here in terms of investment and dividend income combined, this one here paid out way more than everything else. So, and which other one is it? So there's this one, GlaxoSmithKline pays out 4 times a year. That's a really good one in terms of dividend income. And then that's it, no one else in terms of that gets close to that number, just those two. So then again, it gives you more insight into maybe you are more heavily invested in those things and maybe it needs balancing out. Maybe that's the kind of thing you are preferring, so that it means that you are investing more in that, and that's okay. So that's 2017. 2018, again, is it slightly more? Yeah, it is slightly more in terms of what I hold here. You'll see actually that by 2019 I sold some of these. I've sold a couple of the ones that paid monthly by this point. Yeah, so here I've made the decision to sell this. It was quite an expensive one in terms of the fees, and it wasn't worth, for me, it wasn't worth, the income was so small compared to that it wasn't really worth it. And again, this one here, the real estate one, I also got sold that and reinvested that into somewhere else. But you can see again another year where this goes up agonisingly close to £900, but there you go. And again on the edge there you can see that this one, and it's the same one again, is the biggest payment, £150 in one go, which is awesome. But you can see, so it tells you the total for each of the things, but in the month it also tells you that at the bottom, and it also tells you that in the overview at this point here. It also tells you that here 2019 isn't particularly different. In fact, it's slightly smaller in terms of the amount of holdings. That's purely because I'm kind of streamlining the process. I've done this for 3 years now, and I'm getting more confident and also just more knowledgeable because I do lots of research around investing and how it works and what's best and what's not best, and tracking these. So the more holdings you have, the more information you are going to need to keep an eye on, because I keep an eye on all the financials and things of all these different companies, which does take a bit of time, but I find that interesting, so that's not too bad. And you can see here that I absolutely smashed through the £1,000 barrier there last year, and the biggest one now, £221.65. That's the same fund, and that's because throughout the year I'd put more in it. And then the biggest month to date is also that December, which is £340.01. So that is how I see how my monthly dividend income and my monthly dividend portfolio looks at a glance. So if I use 2019 as an example, you can still see that March here only has one payment, October only has one payment, and November only has one payment. They're still months that are really small, and I talk about getting £1,000 a month dividend income from this. Obviously £11.95 is so ridiculously far away from that point. But that's the kind of one where I know if I want this to be that, and it doesn't always have to be exactly £1,000, so maybe like September might be more in the end, and then that will help in October, if that makes sense. But it needs to be around that mark. So for March, October and November, I do need to do some more research around different holdings that would pay out during those months in particular. And then 2020 is this year, and you can see there that there are, again, now you can see the impact of the current situation. So look, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, like that's had, because I invest in individual shares in individual companies, they are much more high risk, but also the likelihood of when something like this happens that they suspend their dividend is probably quite higher than a fund which has lots of different companies in. So you can see like the Vanguard one paid out there anyway. I'm hoping that all these zeros are just temporary blips on the dividend income portfolio stream, if you like. I am tempted to get rid of a couple of these. So Marks and Spencer look really iffy now, in terms of their whole like business model and stuff just looks really, I don't know, I can't decide. But I am sitting at a loss in terms of what I paid for those at the moment, so I am kind of just sitting and waiting, and probably will sell those at some point if I can wait until it gets hopefully nearer back to kind of breaking even or even in a profit. But it doesn't matter. I kind of want to get rid of Marks and Spencer, but at the moment it's dropped so much recently that I'm going to sit and wait a bit longer for that. Oh, I don't have this one anymore. Actually, I can delete that. That was sold. I don't have that in my portfolio anymore. Don't know why that's there. So you can see there that that's how it looks. And so far during 2020, I've had this much, £430.94. If you follow my dividend income, you will know that anyway. So this is my current holding. So I like to have just a list of how many I've got in each thing, as you can see there. Now normally this is the only one that doesn't normally pay dividends, and that was a bit of a punt because it went ridiculously low price from what it had been, and I just thought I'd just buy some and just see what happens, because again they've been a dividend payer in the past and they were so low that it was a bit of a, and it's not something I'd recommend doing, but it was a bit of a high risk thing there. But normally all of these pay out dividends, it's just at the current time they don't. But this is how much I've got in the different holdings in my portfolio at the moment. I'm looking at the moment to top this up. GlaxoSmithKline pays out 4 times a year, and I'd quite like to get this up a bit higher, but they're quite expensive in terms of individual shares, so we'll see how that goes. Like I said, Marks and Spencer, kind of want to get rid of those, but we'll wait a bit longer. And then the funds I've got at the bottom, that's the one that pays the best. That's the one that pays the most out at the moment. Life Strategy is a good one as well. And then I've got emerging markets, so it's a different part of the world. I've got 2 US indexes actually. I'm not entirely sure why. They pay out at different months actually, so that might be my reasoning behind that. And then this is the FTSE 100, and then that's the FTSE All Share. So that's the FTSE 100 companies, and that's all of them. And yeah, so that's my portfolio. And then you can see I've got overall tracker. Don't need to show that one. My watch list is something that I update regularly. So you know I said I needed to look at things that paid out in March or November. So I went through a while ago, probably before all this happened, and researched. These are the FTSE 100 companies, and these are all the ones that have a dividend payment over 4%, I think I looked at. Yeah. And that paid out in months that I need to have more income. So first of all, I just did all the ones that had a dividend of 4% or more. So you can see the Admiral here, 4.22%, but May and October are not months I'm targeting at the moment. Although October should be, I suppose. So it was the ones I was highlighting, I was looking for either March or November and a good dividend yield, so the percentage it pays. The ones in green are the ones that I'm seriously keeping my eye on at the moment, as well as the GlaxoSmithKline. That's not in green because I already hold that. But these are the ones that and this changes regularly due to percentages change. In fact, I need to do this again at some point because these percentages have changed quite considerably. But these are the ones I am watching, if you like. It's quite a big watch list. I should probably delete the ones at the moment that don't fit my kind of month thing. I already have holdings in BT, so I wouldn't buy any more of those at the moment, even though their share dividend thing is really good. I don't think I'd invest anymore. And like I said, I've got GlaxoSmithKline. That's still on my watch list, so to speak. And then that there, the annual overall, is just a condensed thing of that. So this just tells me. So in 2020, Aviva would have paid this. Brown Group would have paid that. It's just a bit of a at a glance thing. And that's my monthly dividend income portfolio tracker, if you want to call it that. I have had this set up for so long and it just works for me in terms of I like the graphs at the beginning, and in an ideal world they would all be going up, but obviously current circumstances have mean that they're not at the moment. I also like the quarterly thing because again it's just I guess it's a bit of a condensed thing of this, but I like that. And then this hasn't changed. It might seem a bit complicated in how I've done this, but for me it works really well. I like the overall so I can see in what month what should be paying out and also which months. So you can see I talked about November. November is still a month where I only have one payout in the month. Hence why in this watch list November is highlighted, because they're the kind of things I am looking at to do with dividend investing. So that's my portfolio. That's how I track my dividends. That's how I know whether we're on track or not. Because of current circumstances this year, we are not on track at all. But like I said, I'm hoping that this is just a momentary blip in the long-term scheme of things, because remember, investing is a long-term thing rather than a short-term get-rich-quick scheme. Like I said, let me know if you want me to do a video on how I choose my investments, how I research and how I look at dividend income in that respect. Quite happy to do a video on that if that is of interest to anybody. As always, thanks for watching. Do you have any investments? Do you track them something similar? Let me know in the comments below. So there you have it. That's my dividend income portfolio, the one that's going to help us during early retirement if all goes to plan. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon.